Hey y'all, I just finished the Starfield Terran Armada DLC, and here's what I think about it. In this video, I'll be talking about the story, gameplay, and some annoyances. Quick note about spoilers, while I won't be revealing any specifics about the ending, I will be talking about the DLC's setup, as well as a basic summary of the entire DLC's events. Despite this, I'm sure that you can watch this video before playing the DLC. Believe it or not, Starfield is actually the first Bethesda RPG that I ever played. At this current point in time, I've played The Elder Scrolls 4 and 5, as well as Fallout 3 and 4, but before all of that, all I had played was Starfield. I liked Starfield when it came out, thinking it to be pretty good, but I just didn't understand why everyone loved Bethesda so much. It was when I finally played a few more of their games that I realized Bethesda is good at making open worlds with cool quests to find, reactions to your choices, and the ability to shape your character's build. Starfield kind of lacked all that for me. The story was cool, if not a bit poorly written. The world felt empty, with tons of loading screens and randomly generated structures. Even many of the RPG systems felt obtuse to me, which left me with a game that I liked, but didn't want to come back to. Except I did come back to it for the first story DLC, Shattered Space. Shattered Space was the first of the many promised DLC for this game, planning to address many issues of the base game. The DLC was promised to return back to a traditional Bethesda format with a curated open world, yet the DLC still featured many of the same issues. The curated open world was just one city and then a huge empty area with a few random locations here and there. The story and narrative was maybe even worse, with an uninteresting and boring plot and bad writing. While the combat and environmental design was certainly cool, the core of what makes not just a Bethesda game good, but any RPG in general, just wasn't there. Terran Armada, along with the Free Lanes update, was meant to be the big relaunch moment for this game. Not in the sense of something like Cyberpunk or No Man's Sky with big game-changing systems, but more so in the view of the public eye. This update and the DLC was supposed to be proof that Bethesda was not only listening to fans' feedback, but trying their best to address it. Unfortunately, Terran Armada does no such thing. Not only is it not able to recapture what made Bethesda so great in the past, but it actually doubles down on Starfield's and Bethesda's flaws even more. The story here in Terran Armada is terrible, even worse than what was found in Shattered Space. Despite being described as a story DLC, this DLC actually features almost no story, with only 3 story missions. The story is incredibly basic. A new evil faction comes out of nowhere, and you and a robot you find named Delta must stop it and save his creator. While it sounds simple, I actually think this is a really great setup. My issue is just that nothing interesting is actually done with it here in this DLC. The DLC gets off to actually a really great start, where you're sent to an abandoned luxury liner filled with dead bodies. You explore it until you're met with the Terran Armada, who seemingly attacked it and killed everyone on board. You find a friendly robot named Delta, who informs you the liner was attacked in order to kidnap his creator, and that you and him must team up to go save her. It's actually a really great start to the DLC with an interesting mystery. The thing is just that the DLC does absolutely nothing to build on the first mission or the mystery that it builds. In literally the next mission, you save Delta's creator. You find her, go save her, and that's it. She then tells you how to fight the Armada, and then in the final mission, you go do that. For a story DLC, especially with one that has such a great opening mission, I just find it baffling as to why they would undermine the story like this. A story DLC for a story-driven RPG should at least have an interesting narrative. Unfortunately, all this DLC has is the bare bones of a narrative stitched together to make something that could be seen as a quest line for the player to complete. Along with the shallow story, the writing is just plain bad. There's not a single interesting character to be found here in this DLC. Delta is quite literally just a typical robot character, and his creator is hardly in the DLC enough to develop any actual characterization beyond basic archetypes. Beyond those two, there is the new Void group, which are just 3 characters who task you with fighting the Armada. You talk to these guys maybe 3 times throughout the whole DLC and are literally the most basic characters in the entire game. Their only purpose is to give you a bit of lore about the Armada and tell you what to do. That's it. In a game full of basic and forgettable characters, the cast here in the Terran Armada DLC fit right in. The DLC does try to do one interesting thing though, which is to create a moral dilemma in the player. Bethesda is known for letting the player make choices and have the world react to them, and this DLC tries to do that too. Unfortunately, however, this DLC has literally only one single choice for you to make, and it's a simple one. One character feels regretful about killing an innocent person and tells you before the final mission to try and minimize casualties if possible. Later, you're then given a speech about how you may not know the whole story and if you trust the people you align with and all that generic stuff. It all just rings off so hollow to me. There's no reason to have any distrust for Void or sympathizing with the Armada because there's no time to create any characterization for these groups. This fact, along with there being no consequences for your actions and the ability to stop an annoying gameplay system, all made the final choice incredibly easy and shallow for me. I really think that's the big issue with this story. It's so short that you're not able to get invested in it at all. The writing is so bland and occasionally poor that it's hard to get invested in this world again and story. The characterization is so shallow that I don't care about any of these characters. With more time, the plot could have been expanded, the writing could have had more time to shine, and the characters could have been more likable. Unfortunately, all Terran Armada offers is the bare minimum for what's required from a story DLC, which is a shame coming from Bethesda of all studios. While the plot itself may not be given much time to be developed, that's not true for the entire DLC. In fact, this 3-mission DLC actually took me slightly over 5 hours to complete. This is because while you do only have to do 3 story missions, you also have to do 7 randomly generated incursions. These incursions are the definition of padding and really grind the pacing of the story to a halt. The incursions all boil down to the same exact thing. They each last about 20 minutes. You fly to an area using cruise mode, kill 3 ships around the main ship, and board it. The main ship can either have gravity or no gravity. Once you board the ship, you usually just fight your way to the other side, grab a data box, and blow it up. There are occasionally some random objectives, like grabbing some codes or something, but they usually aren't anything major. While they are randomly generated, the amount of variation between them is so small to the point where on literally my 3rd incursion, I got a repeat of one I had already done. Even despite the small variations between them, they all feel exactly the same. Like I said before, you have to do them 7 times. Once in a tutorial for the incursions, 3 times in between the 1st and 2nd mission, and 3 times in between the 2nd and 3rd missions. That's what I had neglected to mention before. Technically, you don't actually go straight to saving Delta's creator because you need to find her location by getting data from 3 Terran ships. The thing is that these incursions literally have no story element to them whatsoever, which means they're just a mindless activity for you to do. That's why I called them the definition of padding, because they are literally only there to make the campaign longer by forcing you to play randomly generated shooting corridors for multiple hours. I was literally watching YouTube and listening to audiobooks while playing these incursions because they are just so mindless that there was no reason to give them my full attention. For a studio known for its handcrafted worlds and stories, Bethesda for some reason decided to lean even harder into Starfield's random generation, now forcing it into the story campaign itself. The story missions themselves aren't much better gameplay-wise, despite being handcrafted. Each of them, especially the last one, which is essentially just a fancy incursion, is just following waypoints and occasionally killing things. You never really do anything special found in a typical Bethesda story mission. You don't meet anyone and need to talk your way in. In fact, you don't need to use any of your skills at all, other than the combat ones, I suppose. The only thing of note you actually do is sometimes you need to defend a character, which happens multiple times for some reason. So instead of killing a bunch of guys in various rooms, this DLC will ask you to kill a bunch of guys in one room. It's not terrible by any means, but it's nothing special either. The strange thing is that at the start of the DLC, the game tells you that it's meant for level 50 plus, meaning that it's meant to be endgame content. Now, I gotta come clean, I was at level 29 when I started this DLC, and I ended it at level 36. I did most likely play on easy mode, and there's also the chance that it scaled to my level or something. Despite that though, I just do not see any way that this is worthwhile endgame content. Like I said before, you fight literally only 3 ships before entering the main ship, and once you do, you fight the same exact robot enemies 5 or 6 at a time with an occasional mini-boss. While this is seemingly a good X-Tech farm, something that was added in the new free update, I just don't see how this repetitive, boring, and frankly easy incursion system could be anything more than just an annoyance for endgame players. Now, honestly, I could forgive a lot of this DLC's shortcomings because I wasn't too bored and was having a decently fun time just mindlessly playing the incursions while listening to an audiobook. The thing is, for some reason, this DLC just has so many annoying glitches and small things to the point where I literally felt like the game was trying to stop me from playing it. To start the DLC, you need to go listen to a broadcast at a certain planet, which will give you the first quest. I go to this planet and, of course, it's not playing the broadcast, even after reloading the game multiple times. So I go to another planet and find a radio tower that is thankfully playing the broadcast, and I get the quest. Unfortunately, the first step is to listen to the broadcast, and it stopped playing for some reason, so I had to reload a save again. Finally, I could start the quest, and from there, it was smooth sailing. That was until the tutorial incursion. For some reason, I could not board the main ship at all, even despite boarding another ship a half hour prior. This was right at the start of the DLC too, when I was getting used to the game again, so I didn't even realize it was glitched. I spent literally 20 minutes just flying around trying to board the ship. I reloaded the save, and thankfully, it let me board right away that time. I play the incursion as normal, but once I activate the self-destruct and try to go back to my ship, the waypoint disappears. The path back to my ship was locked and was unfortunately changed, so I had no clue what to do. I ended up just walking around randomly again for 30 minutes and got upset once I found out that I had to take a random door in a random back room of the ship leading to a new hallway with my ship. Even despite the glitches, some of the new systems were annoying too. The cruise mode is a new feature added with the new Free Lanes update that lets you travel between planets in the same system without a loading screen. While I think it's a good idea, it's a flawed execution in my opinion. The game forces you to fly to incursions using the cruise mode since they disable your engines for some reason, not letting you even leave the system. For getting to a specific point in space, the cruise mode sucks, especially before I knew about the autopilot feature. Speed control is a real issue in cruise mode where you're either going way too slow and making no progress, or way too fast and blowing past your destination. Of course, I would always fly right past the incursion multiple times, leading to even more frustration. Like I said, once I discovered the autopilot, it got way better, but I think the game should have had an even more detailed tutorial of it beyond just a few sentences when you first use it. Like I said before, I was actually having a pretty good time mindlessly playing this DLC occasionally. The story missions were short and far apart, so I was mostly just doing incursions while doing something else at the same time. But these glitches and systems just brought this DLC down from a mediocre DLC with bad elements to an overall bad experience. They took all the fun I was having and replaced it with genuine frustration. Hopefully a lot of these things will be patched or changed in the future, but I can't pretend like they didn't impact my personal experience with this DLC. Terran Armada is just a bad DLC, full stop. It's got a really weak story with shallow characters and poor writing. The campaign is extended by tons of padding, with almost 3/4 of the missions being randomly generated, repetitive incursions that have no story content whatsoever. And on top of all that, it's got a ton of glitches and annoying systems that made me incredibly frustrated and almost stopped playing. To me, this feels like the quality of a free Destiny seasonal questline or any other free small update in a live service game. Terran Armada is rushed, low effort, and lazily made. It's clearly only there so Bethesda can have the ability to sell a DLC to go along with its free update and PS5 launch. Terran Armada is such low effort that I think it actually shows the opposite of what Bethesda wants it to. This DLC doesn't reflect a company that's still hard at work on Starfield, listening to fans' feedback and trying to earn back its reputation. It reflects a company that's trying to squeeze every last penny out of a game by charging $10 for what should be a free DLC. It's not the worst DLC ever, and if you told me you liked it, I would understand, but I personally just didn't have a good time here. I realized that this DLC was probably hastily made by a skeleton crew, but if this is what Bethesda thinks is an acceptable release, then I'm a little worried for the Elder Scrolls 6. I do not recommend the Terran Armada DLC. 4 out of 10. Well, y'all, that's my review of the Terran Armada DLC. If you like this video, please make sure to like, comment, or even subscribe. That's all I got for this review, but I do want to take the last few moments to talk about me and my channel. Alright, y'all, so what I want to say today is that I'm filming this, on the 2 minutes before midnight. Anyways, on the day before Mouse PI for Hire comes out. So my goal was to get this video out before that game come out. Obviously, that's not gonna happen, right? I'm thinking this video will come out, on Friday of this week, right? So anyways, I say all this because, I'm gonna get straight into Mouse PI, work on that video, and not play any Crimson Desert. And the issue with that is that unfortunately starting today, Wednesday, I'm getting busy again, right? So I'm entering final season and I have to start studying for my first final next Monday, I think, when I start studying. and I have a group project next Wednesday, which we fucking started today, and oh, like, I swear to God, my group was like rage baiting me the whole time. I was so upset. Like, I was like telling them things, and they're like, no, let's not do that. Let's do this stupid thing. And then the like TA would come up and she was like, are you working on anything? And it's like, I guess not, right? I mean, I'm talking with the group, which is more than some of the other people are doing. But yeah, sure, single me out for no reason, right? But anyways, like, I just bring that up because it's like, I'm gonna be busy. Videos might take longer. In my Crimson Desert video, I said last week that I hope to get it out after Mouse PI. That's not gonna happen. I really doubt it. So yeah, Mouse PI, and then maybe like a 2-week break until Saros, or like 2 or 3 weeks, because I gotta like play that game and then go home for summer, and it's like, ugh, so much stuff. But yeah, you guys, like, it's just gonna be a big gap, potentially, but hopefully my Mouse PI video won't take too long, but it could as well, honestly, because, like I said, I'll be busy, and unfortunately, school has to come before video games. So yeah, that's all I want to say there. I think I did a pretty good job with the voiceover for this video. Like, I hardly messed up until the end, so yay, yay. The script is fine. I don't know. I think that's all I want to talk about, honestly. But yeah, you guys, that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching, y'all. Bye!